For USCFootball.com, I'm Keely Eure here with Dan Weber for instant analysis of USC's Wednesday practice of Oregon State week. And after yesterday's fanfare, all the coaching changes and then the shakeups, today's practice a little bit anticlimactic. It was pretty much same old, but it was a good practice overall. You thought the quarterbacks had a good day today. What were the rest of your takeaways from today, Dan?
Yeah, I thought they threw the ball well. I think it does help to have two kind of game-ready quarterbacks, and I think JT's come back, very, as Clay said, very businesslike and very focused, and an arm that's as fresh as it can be. Jack's coming off a good performance, but today was more the day we get to talk to the defense. So they're certainly counting on Cam Smith being back. I mean, he's doing all the reps, all the first-team stuff. And he's running, like he's on the track, on the cross-country team, because he just keeps running and running between every set. And he said he wanted to, he'd been out 3 weeks, and he wants to kind of replicate, the kind of conditioning you have to be able to, call the signals, get everything right on the field, and get back into your conditioning. So I think he's setting a really good example, for everybody there. And he thought. This is as good a week of practice as he's had. Now, I asked Clancy if he said that, and he said, I'm glad Cam thinks that way. He hasn't been back in 3 weeks, so maybe it's his best because he hasn't been here for 3 weeks. But I get the feeling that this hasn't looked bad at all. This Tuesday, Wednesday, it wasn't perfect yesterday with all the shuffling around, but it looks like they're heading in the right direction. It's been as physical as you can be, without full pads today. But I thought when the offensive line, defensive line, ones and twos went against each other, and then they did some ones against ones in the 9-on-7 team run. That's those are all positives, I think.
Yeah, and we did find out for sure that Cam Smith will play against Oregon State, and that's already a huge boost to USC's defense. And the players and Clancy Pendergast did not shy away from the fact that having Cam back, having a 3-year starter in the defensive system is a huge boost.
Yeah, I mean, as much as EA, has gotten done in the first couple of games, last week, as Clancy would say, he had a really tough first half. I mean, he just didn't. He, wherever he just wasn't, fitting the run. And as they say, in a one-gap defense, they got to cover every gap.
Yeah.
And if somebody's in the wrong gap, you have what you had with Eno Benjamin or Manny Wilkins on the long touchdown runs that were really short yard plays. But I think I think they feel good about what they're doing and how they're doing it this week. And that's a good thing. And I think they have reacted to some of the criticism, some of the things that they haven't gotten done in practice. And so, I mean, we'll see. But they're 4-4, and they know it's in their hands. Where does this go from here? I mean, they're in the that classic spot, where theoretically they could end up 4-8 or 8-4. You can argue any of those numbers, but those are the numbers. And this is the week that decides which direction they go.
Yeah, so in that case, when you look at Oregon State, what presents the biggest challenge for USC on Saturday?
I just think that they're rejuvenated. I mean, their win at Colorado in overtime, and they're down 31-3, and they win 41-34. I mean, that's like, they're 2-6, and they lost 22 straight road games. And they're like, whoa, hey, we're pretty good. And so, I mean, you're going to go up, and their fan base is probably now, you could have gone in there and their fan base is, still celebrating Halloween or something, but that ain't going to be the case. They'll be there. And that's a place, kind of a nice, redone, renovated stadium that they get, they're right on top of you, and they can be excited. And I think big challenge for USC is try to take them out of the game right away.
Yeah.
Or because everybody is saying, hey, this is a USC team that we can beat. This is a USC team that's just ripe. Arizona State thought that last week. Obviously, Utah did. What you want to do is disabuse them of that notion that, no, this USC team isn't going to let you win this game. And you got to get started right away. And you got to try to take them and the crowd out of it right away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. As far as practice goes, we have seen a little bit of some tweaks that we're not used to seeing, particularly some one-on-ones periods. Yesterday was a 9-on-7 period, and today we saw that again. What are you seeing from this physicality? I know you asked Clay Helton after practice today, will no pads November be a thing? He said no. USC seniors wanted to keep full pads for the rest of the season to have a sense of urgency for the remainder of their games. So what do you take about this rejuvenation, I guess, of some physicality?
Yeah, I know. A lot of, obviously to the people on the P, there was a big question about no pads November, and the answer is no pads November. And that's the right answer, actually. And the fact that initiated by the players, the seniors, they want to get this done. They want that, and the fact that they'd already talked about it this week or even earlier, that they did not want to go to no pads November.
Yeah.
I think that's a real positive, and I guess in the team meetings today, they showed a lot of the one-on-one competitive situations with Biggie, I guess, and Michael Pittman, and then they concluded it with Elijah Griffin against Devin Williams with two freshmen, and in a real competitive situation. So I think they're trying to highlight how important it is to compete at practice, every day at practice. I do get the sense there's more competition and more of a sense of competition. We're not necessarily seeing it, in terms of the rotation on the roster. We're not, it's the same offensive line.
Yeah.
We will say this, Toa, the snaps are markedly improved. And what we're seeing is maybe the tentative nature and the slow, I know guys were talking about they're low and they're slow. They're not slow anymore. He's really, with the new grip and he kind of end over end, not a spiral. I think he was tentative because he wasn't sure if it was going to be online or where it was going to be, and the harder you snapped it, the more off target it would be. I think now there's a confidence level where he's getting that ball back, right now. And we're just not seeing guys having to reach and lose focus on the defense. So that's one of the changes that we're seeing. And you noted about how they're practicing snaps after practice with Coach Drevno. So there are some positive things that we've seen this week, no question.
Yeah, so some changes, some evolution, I guess, as the season goes on. But any final thoughts before we wrap it up?
No, I think this is, you could have gotten distracted, I thought, really badly last 3 days, whatever. And they don't look distracted. They look like, okay, and maybe this is where, at times you wonder, doing the same thing every day, does that get a little, old or a little boring or whatever? But in a week like this, that might help you, where you don't have to, figure out what new we're going to do. You just get to doing what you were doing, but doing it better, getting coached up more on it, getting more individual technique stuff and that kind of thing. I mean, that's the hope if you're USC. You're hoping that this is, the kind of the jump start you need. For example, Clay is so much more able to be involved with, all the 11, the full team offense, because he's now the offensive coordinator and he's right in the middle of it. And, he's stands behind the defense, and you got Drevno right behind the offense, and you've got two people who are really very, very closely invested with what they're doing. I think that's a plus. Obviously it has to happen this week because they got to get it going. You got to build some momentum to the Cal game, the UCLA game.
Yeah.
Then you see what happens in that final game. But you got to knock these 3 games off, and it starts this week. Can't think about the next 2. We can, they can't, but they got to get Oregon State right for all. Who would have thought that will be the crucial game of the year? And we've said this before, but there's no way. You have to win. You have to play well. If you play well, you'll win. And they got to just go up there and play well.
Yeah. All right. That's going to wrap it up for a special Halloween edition of Incident Analysis. For Dan Weber, I'm Keely Eure. For more, check out uscfootball.com.